Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my Divine Shiva LUFENIA Plus run with Core, Auron, and Ace. This one is definitely going to be a hard one. I feel that the team that you can bring is very limited. I'll try to talk about what I do with the team as the video goes on. So here with Core, it's just using his S1, it's a free skill. Then going and using his EX. I don't feel it's necessary to use his LD, because he already has most of his buffs, things like that, and I want to save more of my hard-hitting moves when Shiva splits into two at 29%. 29%, she splits into two, and she has 100%. Each one has 100% health. This is just kind of like the appetizer to the fight. The first Shiva is not really that dangerous. She does use Diamond Dust Divine. I think that there's a way for you to stop her from using that. That is the main attack that I feel you kind of need to worry about, in my opinion, because it's the attack that freezes you. You can't move. It eats up into your turn count, things like that. So here you'll see that at 79%, when she's a single target like this, she's going to have something called Resist Veil. And what that's going to do is that Resist Veil is going to give her a 1 million HP shield. As you can see here, as I'm hitting her, you see the blue numbers in the back. She has a shield, and I'm not doing any HP damage until I completely remove that shield. That's where Core and Auron come in the beginning, because I actually am using only Ace's S1 move, because I'm trying to save his traps, which is his LD, and then his HP attack, for when Shiva splits. So here, Core and Auron, I think, are going to be key. And one, Auron is going to keep me safe and do a lot of off-turn damage, and so is Core. A lot of off-turn damage. And that's what I feel made this team just work overall. It's just all of the off-turn damage, because you will get frozen. As you can see there, I'm frozen, can't move, but after Shiva's next turn, you are unfrozen. And here comes Auron with his off-turn damage, and then you have Core, Reaper's Gale. That comes up every so often. And here, I think that what you need to focus on, I think what makes this fight very tricky, is how you deal with Diamond Dust Divine. And can you make both Shivas do it technically almost at the same time? Because you don't want one Shiva to freeze you, and then all of a sudden a few turns later the next Shiva freezes you, and then by that time the next one probably already has a recast up and doing it again, and you're just frozen the whole match, and it's going to eat up into your turn count. So how are you going? You got to figure out how you're going to either reduce the HP damage taken, or how you're going to heal after they do those attacks. Aside from that, you also have to deal with how are you going to have them not kill you after they use Diamond Dust Divine, because you're frozen, and if they gain a lot of Brave, the next attack will most likely kill you. So a couple options are going to be bringing something like calls that'll help with like sap poison. You could also bring Warrior of Light into your party, put up a shield so that way you don't get broken. Every time you get broken, one of the first Shiva that breaks you is going to get that 1 million HP shield, and only one of them can have the shield. So even if both of them break you, only one will get the shield. Here at 29%, Shiva splits into two. And this is where the real match starts, because now they have the LUFENIA orb. The LUFENIA orb is non-lethal, which means when it goes off, it's not going to kill you. But when it goes off, it does do a snow in attack, which decreases their debuffs by 2 and applies ice crystals on your team. And ice crystals is a field effect that reduces your attack by 60%, the brave damage you do by 20%, and also completely reduces 100% of the damage from launch. So if they're using that, then you're not going to really be able to bring Sid Reigns or any kind of launcher or anything like that. I brought in two fire enchant calls, Ignis and Lulu. I put Ignis on Core. Core is going, I put Ignis's call on Core because Ignis doesn't put a buff on each one of your teammates. Core puts an aura on, or sorry, Ignis's Call puts an aura on Core. So every time that Core does his off-turn damage, because it's AoE, it's going to increase the orb count. So if you can see here, they're going to stay at 10 with the orb for the majority of the fight, or for a while. Just because, again, every time Core does that off-turn damage, it doesn't decrease the aura of the Fire Enchant Call on him. Only when he takes an actual turn. Here, now you'll see that I did apply, obviously, Ace's traps, and right now at 79, I want to make sure that I hit them both equally as hard and keep their HPs together, so that way they both reach 79% together, and then kind of like freeze at the same time, or freeze me at the same time. Instead of one freezing, taking a few turns, and then the other one freezing, and then I'm just having to deal with being frozen all the time. But if they both freeze you at the same time, well then it's not going to eat up into your turns as much. I also saved the burst for later on in the fight, because in the beginning, since they don't have as high defense as in the end, you'll see that I don't have trouble dealing damage. I mean, when Ace's traps right here are going off, it's doing like 12,000. It's almost capping. And then same thing with Core and Auron. They're doing a significant amount of damage. But once they reach 49%, it's going to reduce Brave damage now by 50%, Brave gains by 90%, and they're going to have about defense up about of 300%. So you can see here that I wanted them to use their Diamond Dust Divine move here. So they used it when they were at 79%. They also used it right after because their recast gauge was all the way up. So I really only have to deal with, you combined all of their Diamond Dust Divines into just kind of like one phase, if that makes sense. And so now, from this point on out, they're not going to do it again until they reach 49%. Or if I let them take too many turns and their recast gauge goes up. Since that Diamond Dust Divine does guarantee a break, since B broke me first, B is going to have that 1 million HP shield. You can see that there by the blue numbers as I'm hitting B. Now the shield is very annoying, but I'm able to take it away with all of the easy with all of this off-turn damage from all of the characters that I have. So here, Auron is gonna, do his off-turn damage. Then Ace's trap is gonna go off right here, and then yeah, it's pretty easy. They do inflict quite a bit of debuffs on you as well, and I think that if you bring like Warrior of Light, you bring in Beatrix, you bring in maybe even Cypher, I don't know, Cypher will work here, just anybody, or even Setzer with his freeze, you need to find a way to maybe have them not do any HP damage to you. If not, then you will have to bring some type of healer. Like again, that's why Auron is in here. Not only does he do good off-turn damage, but he also provides HP regeneration. I was finding that when I was bringing in damage dealers but with no HP or without any heal, I couldn't meet the orb requirement for the heal portion of it, or the HP damage portion of it. And then when I would bring in again too many healers, I wasn't dealing enough damage to complete it within the turn count. And I feel like this team provides a good balance of off-turn damage, but you also have your healer. You have a significant amount of increase in defense with Core and Auron, so you don't take that much damage. So I think this team worked out really, really good, and I completed it sooner than what I expected to complete it from what I had heard of how hard the stage actually was. I feel like I do want to go back and I want to rerun the stage, for example, like with Setzer, and Setzer does have the freeze, so I shouldn't be taking any HP damage, and maybe I can bring in bigger damage dealers, rebreakers, things like that, reduce the amount of turns that they have, and maybe even with like Cyphers. And I know that Zidane is not ideal with Setzer because he's going to burn through the fixed ice buff really quickly, but it's worth the shot because I mean Zidane does delete turns. And so you'll see that I ended up, again, I did save the burst and the friend unit when I felt like they were going to get about around 49% ish. That's where I feel like it was worth maximizing Ace's burst damage by first bringing in the twins, bursting with them, and now with their aura, it'll kind of balance out the fact of how high their defense goes and allow me to still do a significant amount of damage. At that point, I mean, obviously just a huge damage race. It's technically always a damage race with these guys. Now they have 2 turns here, so you'll see here that I do use Lulu. They have not had the orb go off, not even once, and they're about 60% on both of them. So Lulu coming out is going to now enchant the whole party for fire. So now you got Core doing damage, now you have Ace doing off-turn damage, and you'll see that now the orb count is going up. Whenever you do fire damage, the orb count only goes up by 1, but off-turn damage doesn't count as it reducing the orb. So again, when Core goes and attacks on his off-turn, like right there, it increases the orb count. Because it wasn't his turn, he just doesn't move before your player, which is different. So also here, when I believe Ace's trap goes off, it also makes the orb go up. Now the orb should go away at 19%, but it can come back after 10 turns. And at 19%, they're going to use the Snow In attack that they get when their LUFENIA orb goes off. So as soon as that goes off, you want to make sure that you are, again, doing as much damage as you possibly can. So that's where I feel that it's worth saving your summon, so that maybe you don't have the orb go off. Now, even if the orb goes off, I don't think it's really that bad. I mean, the attack, you can endure it. It's not too bad. It's just the fact that it does put some nasty kind of the nasty field effect on there, which is going to be reducing your attack, reducing your brave damage, things like that. And the fact that they take 100%, or they completely negate damage taken from launch. So it's just better to not have the orb go off, and that's why I brought all the fire enchant. But if you could let it go off, and if you don't have a launcher and you have good auras and debuffs, you should still be fine. So you could also do that and not worry about, you know, the LUFENIA orb. Now here it's always about keeping up the debuffs with Jack's LD and then his HP. Now at this point, now that they are about to reach at 49%, now they're going to do the Diamond Dust Divine, both of them. There it goes. B's recast is also up, so you can see there that B did do the Diamond Dust Divine again because the recast was up. And then from here on out, I'm at about 45 turns, so now it's time to start dealing as much damage as possible, because I'm more than halfway. I mean, the turn count is only 70, so at this point I think I only have about 26 turns left to get, you know, to take away the rest of all their HP. So here, this is where I bring in the twins. Now that I brought in the twins, and they do have Ace's trap on there, which reduces their defense. Actually, sorry, no, they didn't have the trap on there. So that's the twins. If I would have had the trap, it would have done more damage, because obviously the trap does minus what is it? Minus 40% defense. But that still doesn't matter. You can see here that I'm still hitting for almost 300k on one enemy with Ace, and then the goal here is to burst with Ace while the twins aura is up. Now you could bring, for example, Cloud of Darkness as well. I know that Cloud of Darkness and an Ace and like Warrior of Light, I think, is a very popular team or players to bring on here, just because, again, as much off-turn damage that you can do as possible. Here the twins, though, again, very powerful. They're going to be doing 1 million damage to each Shiva, and that's huge. And that's what I think allows me. I think the twins is what allows me to really complete it within the turn count, because of how much damage they actually do. Here you'll see that although they have high defenses, with the twins aura and everything, even, you know, Core is hitting for for big numbers, just big damage here. So the next thing to do would be to make sure that I'm going to go into my burst with Ace, while again the twins burst effect is up. Now I have to make sure that there's enough room though. So like right here, I believe that there's only what, 7 debuffs on the targets. So going into the burst will allow me to just put one of the debuffs from the LD on the Shivas, and the goal is really to put 2 of them, which is going to be a minus 80% defense down. So here, I rather go into the summon, and that way I could, I guess you could say, have the burst effects like overlapping. Use Ace's burst right before the twins burst effect goes out, and then that way when Auron comes back in, I have Ace's burst effect as well. So here, since I'm seeing that I am doing a good amount of damage with just the twins burst effect, then it's like, why even? I think that it's not really worth going straight into Ace's burst, if that makes sense. Like, Ace's burst effect also provides auras, but I mean, if you're already capping on damage, as you can see, then like, why even put that aura up? It's not worth it yet. And I think that that's something to obviously to consider. Here, since the twins do have only one more turn left, then this I'm gonna use Ace's burst effect here on their last turn. So you'll see here that I mean, just with the twins on here, allowing Ace to do so much damage. Force insane off-turn damage. You can see that, look, that's 300 on one, over 300k on one, and over 200k on another one. At 19%, they will use the Diamond Dust of, or sorry, 29%. They had to use Diamond Dust Divine, but since I was doing so much damage and I kind of blew right through that 29%, they don't actually do it when you're in burst or summon. So that attack was, I guess you can say, pending. And then on top of that, since they reached 19%, they also use their Snow-In attack. So then here, I thought that this is, I guess you could say, the perfect time to use Ace's burst, but I actually had messed up. And I messed up because since I was frozen, Ace's turn went by, and now you're going to actually see that the twins don't have any more turns left. So I actually didn't get to use the twins burst effect to enhance or amplify the damage that Ace will do in his burst. But even then, with that mistake, I still completed it to kind of show you that, I mean, it could still be done, and I could have maybe finished the fight even sooner. So yeah, that's something that I did notice here. So I did mess that one up, but still works out, right? So you'll see here that you're not going to do any damage on the launch, and right there, because I was frozen, my plan was to do Ace's burst effect, but I was frozen at the time, so I couldn't. So should have probably done the burst effect sooner, but I mean, it still works out anyway. Here, I'm just going to be using the LDs and just using as much, or using the moves that deal the most amount of damage, right? At this point, B has the recast up. I'm going to get frozen again. I'm at about 55 turns, so I have 15 turns left, but I should be okay because I still have Ace's burst. And I want to make, like, one of the problems I think, like, bringing Ferris is the fact that she applies so many debuffs that it's hard to put both, or to put more other debuffs that you might need. I mean, Ferris, all I really care about is really her defense down is her #1 reason, and then her sap is the #2. But I mean, she put so many other debuffs on there that I find myself, like, right there, barely having enough space just to put on Ace's trap debuff on there. So now, as you can see, I mean, I have more than enough skills with him. I'm trying to see if maybe I can push one of if Ferris's debuffs will go away so that I can go into the burst mode. I mean, they're already at, pretty low HP, so maybe I just can go into the burst. But I think that with this team, you have flexibility like I did to make even a few mistakes and still be able to beat it. Here I just ended up going for it. I mean, I did see that I was at 58 turns, and he's hitting still, you know, fairly hard, but could have done a lot more damage if I would have used it during the Twins burst effect. But still going close to 300k using his S2. It was at 260k on B and like another 100 and something k on C. So it shouldn't be an issue. And then if you do kill one of the Shivas, the other one doesn't seem to like gain huge auras or anything like that. So you should be fine killing one of the Shivas, and then you don't have to deal with 2 recast gauges. I mean, that was still 2.8 million damage. Wasn't bad, you know, whatsoever. Could have done obviously a lot more. Like I said, if I would have used it during the Twins burst phase, or when their burst effect was up. And that's, I mean, that's pretty much the match. Core, off turn damage. Auron, off turn damage. Healer. You know, just all the counter attacks, the heal, the defense helps me, you know, keep me safe. Varus's call came in handy, obviously at the very end, since they do get that boost in defense, bringing down the defense, putting the sap on there. And then Ace is, you know, I think the main damage dealer here, and his trap is what allows both of them to reach the HP, certain HP thresholds together. And then, I mean, you don't have to really worry about burning through skills. I still have plenty of Ace's skills left. I'm gonna try, like, I guess, again, like I said, to rerun it probably like with Setzer. I'll probably rerun it with Setzer and another team. I do feel like it's definitely doable with other teams as well. And that's the fight for you guys. If there's a team you guys are trying to complete it with and are getting close to completing it but are having a hard time, post it in the comments. I'll try to run that team that you're trying to run. So you can see here, I mean, my Ace is, I would consider him a bare bones Ace. Really, no artifact passives. Doesn't have a lot of active spheres. I didn't green him, but he's still working out. So yeah, guys, good luck on the stage. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. Also, let me know in the comment section what you think about this mission and who you used to complete it. Check the links in the description for Opera Omnia websites that give you a bunch of helpful information, and I'll see you on the next one.